Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back for your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to be talking about Ripple and XRP, as well as the vast majority of crypto and finance. And with that being said, let's just dive in and let's talk about this news here from Payment Infrastructure News. So we do see FedNow will be using the new ISO20022 global financial messaging standard, meaning banks will need to be sure that they can submit messages in that format. Computer World on the start of the instant payment system. Now, the best part about this is that, yes, we have payment messaging being harmonized through this in terms of interoperability being solved. But the biggest problem is you don't have settlement solved. This is huge, right? Because this is one of the steps being taken towards that new system that we've been addressing. And we do see over here, FedNow will be the first of its kind central bank instant payment system in the US and could revolutionize how businesses and consumers pay and receive money, but not everyone is prepared for it. And if we zoom in and scroll down, we do see after a pilot program that lasted 6 months, the US Federal Reserve System plans to launch its FedNow real-time payment system in July, but many banks and businesses could be caught flat-footed when it launches. The central bank's payment and settlement rail is designed to increase liquidity, especially for small businesses and supply chain participants who can get paid instantly for goods and services. It also creates a new way for employees, especially gig and hourly rate employees, to get paid more quickly and frequently, perhaps every day. So yeah, this is great to see, and it will allow banks, businesses, and consumers to send and receive payments in 10 to 20 seconds, anytime, any day. The big thing about this, though, is that at first, this is not going to be, cross-border or anything like that. This is just in the US. But as we look at it today, like I said, this is a big step in the right direction. Everyone has their own ideas around this, if it is going to be the introduction of the CBDC within the US or not. We don't know, right? But I will say this, I do think that this is becoming a big shift, just like they're saying here, for many banks, a real shift. For a lot of banks, this is a real shift in operational thinking. The margin of error is significantly smaller. The time to do things manually is essentially gone. We're hearing a lot of things from banks and vendors who offer automation that there's an increasing demand for automating a lot of tasks and workflows to better handle real-time messages. So again, this is huge, and it's a monumental moment in time for payments. The big thing, though, is that this is going to take some time to hit the real big stage, which is a global push in the right direction with this. But like I said, this is the start of it. Now, the best thing about this is everyone wants to know, how is crypto tied to this? How is crypto going to be a part of this whole journey? Well, it's very simple. We've talked about ISO20022. Over here from Anderson, he's actually quoting this article that got posted. And we do see, read the tweet about FedNow below. Then read these 4 slides by Bob Way in this tweet. See the larger picture. Don't be a simple mind. And here we have from Bob Way, and I've shared this in the past. I'm not sure I could add a lot of insight. I'm sure things have changed a lot, but just for clarity, ISO20022 is way bigger than you might think at first. It replaces the previous Swift standards MT and MX and adds a lot of other things. Over here, the reason this ISO20022 transition is extremely helpful to Ripple's bank sales team is this means that every bank is required to implement new technology. Banks hate to change an already working process. Change can introduce new problems, which means bankers can get fired. Over here, this is the #1 reason most bank integrations don't happen. New system development is expensive and risky. Mistakes can generate bank losses or fines. Bankers get fired. The person you are negotiating with must have product budget, development budget, risk appetite. With a mandatory 2022 change happening, the person you are negotiating with only needs to have product budget. Money for development has already been allocated elsewhere. Nobody can get fired for following a mandate. That makes the sale a much easier lift for Ripple. Over here as well. That being said, bank software sales is still a hard process, especially with the SEC suit still adding FUD to the process. But even if banks wait for a settlement, their 2022 upgraded system becomes much easier for Ripple to integrate with them. The biggest impact is going to be that even smaller banks are going to be upgrading their systems. That creates a much larger pool of on-demand liquidity compatible banks. Smaller banks get the most benefit from on-demand liquidity. It lets them cut the larger correspondent banks out of their flow and cost. And yes, this is huge. The thing is, though, right, is a lot of people think that the world of finance moves extremely fast. ISO20022 has been a thing since going all the way back to 2004. We are now finally seeing this being adopted today. This is a historical landmark for payments. And I do believe that this is going to be the start of the transition within the crypto scene as well around payment and payment technology. The problem is, the biggest problem that I see with all of this is everyone believes that this is going to happen instantly. This is a great start, but we still have a long journey ahead. But I do believe that Ripple is ahead of most because, again, Ripple has been participating in this entire transition forever. They have been spearheading the move towards adopting banks within RippleNet. And we already know that RippleNet has been ISO20022 compliant for a very long time. I think that they already seen this vision before or even were a part of it, right? But it's huge for the smaller banks as well. And it's huge for the banking sector because it's a monopoly system out there. I mean, the big four control most of this. But I do think that this is huge. And I think that this is a great start. Again, a lot of people had this misconception around ISO20022 for so long and how it's going to skyrocket XRP's price and all this. Like, it has nothing to do with XRP's price. But what it does allow is for Ripple to expand a lot faster. It also makes Ripple's job a lot easier in terms of utilizing this time to not only market, but also sell banks on this technology. And also, remember, I've been sharing this document in many of my recent videos because this quote down here from Volante, which we just talked about, and how big Volante is, this is a bank, or this is a company with 125 banks, financial institutions, market infrastructures, and clearinghouses tied to it, and even corporate treasuries in 35 countries. And when they do talk about ISO 20022, it's huge, right? The movement towards ISO 20022 goes beyond just compliance with a SWIFT or market infrastructure mandate. The payments processing ecosystem is a diverse and ever-changing one. While there are major changes in how payments are going to be made occurring now, there are new entrants, ideas, and innovations that will shape the industry landscape for years to come. A lot can happen in 5 years after all. Sitting at the heart of that change will be ISO 20022. The standard will bring together disparate systems, standards, and methods from across the globe and tie them together. No greater example of this can be found than in that of Ripple. This is also the first member based on DLT within the ISO 20022 standards body. I believe that Ripple with XRP is solidified in history as a significant piece of this new financial innovation happening. It is going to be a facelift, if you will, for the global financial system. And this upgrade that happens, this new system that is rising, is going to change everything. And I also believe that there's been a lot of behind the scenes movement happening with some big leaders. For example, shout out to Fame21 More, XRP Darren over on Twitter. We do see I had the pleasure of speaking with Craig DeWitt, Crypto Cowboy, if you will, where we discussed a range of topics including Real Supermojo, ETHgate, CBDCs, FedNow, and more. And we do see the big question here. Does FedNow make Ripple's job easier? Level playing field, in quotation marks. Stay tuned for our upcoming interview. Definitely go check out Darren over on Twitter as well as on YouTube. But listen closely to this 3-minute long video. Really kind of just talking about this new innovation happening from FedNow.
Could be just an option, right? Like FedWire is an option. You don't have to use FedWire. You can use ACH, which I believe is the private sector, right? That does ACH. So it's not in the end all be all. Now, with all that being said, though, I believe the Fed actually has announced the FedNow platform, right? That's live now. So we do have real-time payments as we speak, or is it? I think it's coming up soon or something. Does that make Ripple's work easier to do if, the last mile type of situation, having that upgraded infrastructure going from one corridor to the next, does that make everything easier and smoother?
Yeah, so starting with what FedNow is, I like FedNow because it starts to offer a level playing field. Historically, commercial banks like JP Morgan, who have accounts everywhere and a critical mass of accounts, have been able to do things just on their internal ledger that other banks can't, namely instant transfers, because that's just ones and zeros on their own database. FedNow is cool because anybody who has an account at the Federal Reserve, whether you're a credit union or a financial institution, you have access to doing these instantaneous payments. And what that means is now they can offer better experiences to their customers, whether it's through your banking app or something else to do instant payments, including to merchants. That's very cool. That's actually good for business in the United States. Now, like in terms of where that goes for a company like Ripple really benefits from more efficient domestic payment systems. And I think one thing that we learned very early on is that domestic payment systems, while they are not perfect, like buying a cup of coffee today with a credit card with Visa, not that bad, right? Like the actual rails themselves aren't that bad. Where you run into a little bit of trouble is the actual mechanics around the dollar itself and the infinity printing press that goes up. But putting that aside, like domestic payments are actually decent today. FedNow is going to make that a little better. There's going to be other innovations as well. The real problem in payments, like the one that hurts the worst, is how you string together international payments. Because for domestic payment, usually you have a central bank, and that central bank is able to do things as fast as they want to because everything reconciles to their ledger. On a cross-border basis, you don't have a supranational bank. There's no bank of banks, right? Unless you're talking about Citigroup. And so getting rid of those correspondent banks and just connecting to hyper-efficient domestic systems, that's a future where you could have instantaneous cross-border payment from, call it US to Japan, for fractions of a penny. And that's not going to use a currency to do that, a government denominated currency. That's going to use a crypto asset, and XRP is really well suited for that.
So yeah, XRP is well suited for that. Also, did you hear that little hint that he said there? What do you see down here? There is no international bank unless you are talking about Citigroup. The big key here is Citigroup, right? When we actually look at Citigroup, there's a lot of connections to Citi. Like I said, with this announcement going all the way back to May 31st when I made this tweet, this was with, I tied the dot with Citi and Volante. Like I talked about a few connections here because, FedNow is a huge game changer, but you still have a lot of problems there, right? There's a lot of problems. It's starting to level the playing field. It's starting to disrupt this monopoly system. And again, it's all centered out on ISO20022. We do see January 19th, 2021 as well. Volante extends collaboration with Citi for global ISO20022 migration. Remember, Volante and Ripple have been for the longest time kind of working with each other. Now, is this solidified that, hey, look, if Citi's going to be using Ripple? No. I believe that there was a quote, I want to say from Ashish Bertala, actually. And what he said was Citi will be Ripple's last partnership. It will be Ripple's last client, if you will. I believe that that is the case. But I will say that these moves being made with Volante, for an example, is something to pay attention to. Because we do know that Citi will be building its core ISO20022 capability using Volante's Volpay for ISO20022 migration solution. We know with Volpay, they would be exposed to Ripple. So they could utilize Ripple through the Volpay plug and play technology. And we do see down here from Citi's Treasury and Trade Solutions Global Head of Technology, Volante's payment processing solutions are already an integral part of our payments and transaction banking platforms. Using this technology will allow us to simplify the complexity of mandatory ISO20022 migrations across the many markets in which we operate. We will be able to serve our clients even better by catering to their complex needs. Significant changes are on the horizon for banks and financial institutions, with ISO20022 migration mandates raising a multitude of operational, infrastructural, and technical challenges. Helping banks rise to the challenge and enabling them to meet critical deadlines without slowing down modernization efforts will be the key to their success. Moreover, by deploying VolPay for ISO20022 migration, bank treasury teams will be able to offer rich, value-added services to their corporate clients, simplifying reconciliation effort, improving straight-through processing, and reducing fraud. Mind you, this is VolPay being deployed within bank treasury teams and corporate clients, you name it. Now, we already know that Ripple is working on treasury flows and creating an efficient treasury flow. But also, as I have said in the past, when you go onto Volante's platform, right? Or I think it was under solutions. And if we go here to, I want to say real-time payments, I might be wrong, but I'll open two slides just to make sure. This will open the door for a lot of these banks to utilize and source the power of all of the major names tied to VolPay. Meaning this could be Swift with Swift GPI, it could be Ripple, it could be Visa B2B, and more. Again, what I like about this isn't the fact that, oh, hey, look it, Ripple's 100% proven to be utilized. No. We know that Ripple has superior technology, right? Banks want the fastest technology. Clients want the fastest technology. They want the most superior technology. What this FedNow service with ISO20022 does, it opens the door of opportunity to be taken. Meaning if these banks want to source the potential of, faster payment technology and cheaper payment technology and things like that, they could do that. They can do that through VolPay. That's what I like about these partnerships. That's what I like about Ripple being tied to some of these big names. And although, listen, Ripple and Citi, they're going to compete a little bit. I think Brad Garlinghouse said it perfectly himself. Ripple is competing with the liquidity of Citi and the messaging of Swift, but in one, because we are both messaging and liquidity. And yes, this was from 2023. This was the World Economic Forum Davos event. And, they are competing. They are. But at some point in time, they won't have to be competing. Because I believe that Swift and Citi will be utilizing Ripple technology. I think that that's the dream scenario. And I think that a lot of the recent things, right, with Citigroup and Medico, like they're reviewing this partnership with crypto custodian Medico because Ripple recently bought Medico for $250 million. If you guys don't know, that's been a well-known event. We know that Citi has been moving very fast on a blockchain technology and utilizing blockchain technology. For those out there that are a Zinfin fan, here you guys have Citi working with Contour, actually, which is a huge trade-based blockchain company. We know that Citi is ready for crypto. We know that Citi is moving pretty quickly on crypto and blockchain technology. And I know that, like, although this is them reviewing this partnership, I believe at some point in time, Citi and Ripple will be working together. And I think it's just simply because it makes sense. This is extremely efficient. This is extremely superior technology than anything else out there. And again, I've talked to you guys about the evolution of the payment landscape. The superior technology will always be chosen. It always will be chosen. But it's going to take some time. This is not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen, tomorrow. We still have, like, FedNow is still not cross-border. It's still within the U.S. So at first, we'll see small steps like this. But then when the big steps get taken, that's when everything, and I mean everything, will change drastically. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe to notifications on if you guys have more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. As always, up to you all, have a beautiful day or a beautiful night wherever you guys are on this. Before this, but Nick, peace out, guys.